Okay, let's just jump right in with the fact that is, well, it's going to change how you think about your own body. Roughly 60% of the weight of your stool isn't leftover food. It's the actual physical mass of your gut microbiome.
Wow.
Trillions of living microbes. And this community, this microscopic world, is probably the most overlooked player in your health.
It's astounding, isn't it?
Yeah.
And honestly, the story of what happens when it gets disrupted, that's the health story of our time. We're talking about chronic low-grade inflammation. It's like this invisible war happening inside.
Low hum of just feeling off.
Precisely. The fatigue you can't quite shake, that frustrating brain fog, Or maybe it's just vague joint aches, skin issues that never clear up. These aren't just, I'm getting older, I'm too busy. They're the quiet signals from a body that's constantly fighting. And if you let it go, that internal conflict, it leads to really major health problems down the road.
So our mission today is to give you a deep dive into the evidence-based tools for an anti-inflammatory life. We're really focusing on how to spot that hidden gut imbalance and give you a repair manual. We're drawing a lot on the work of the gastroenterologist, Dr. Bulsiewicz. We want you to walk away from this feeling equipped, ready for a change. So let's start with a really simple definition. When we say inflammation, we basically just mean the immune system is active, right?
That's the simplest way to look at it, yeah. Inflammation is the immune system being switched on. And in the short term, that's a good thing, a really good thing. If you step on a rusty nail or catch a stomach bug, you want that system to switch on, send in the white blood cells, and, clear the threat. That's its job.
But the problem, and this seems to be a very modern problem, is that the system gets activated when there's no real threat, and then it just gets stuck in the on position, 247.
That sustained low hum. That's chronic low-grade inflammation. It's so subtle, just flies under the radar. It's not a fever, right? But it shows up as that difficulty concentrating, or poor sleep, or those aches and pains that just seem to come out of nowhere. We tend to just dismiss them until they build into something much bigger.
And we have to stress, this is not just a weight issue. I thought this point was fascinating. You can look amazing on the outside, like a competitive bodybuilder, but be, and this is the quote, falling apart on the inside.
That's such a critical point. Appearance is not immunity. Think of your immune system like a small army, a highly trained one. Now, if that army is constantly at war day and night, fighting what it thinks are threats, you have to expect collateral damage. And that damage, that decimation, isn't happening to some foreign invader. It's happening to the surrounding area, which is your own organs, your own tissues.
So where does this war actually start? And this is where it gets so interesting, this powerful link between the immune system and the 38 trillion microbes in our gut.
Undeniable. And the body has built this incredible 3-layer defense system to manage it. The first layer is the gut microbes themselves. They're supposed to, feed the barrier and keep everything in order.
And then layer 2 is the physical wall, the separation.
Exactly. It's just a single thin layer of cells. We can call it the castle wall. It's so important because it separates the outside world, what's in your gut, from your bloodstream. But here's the amazing part. The repair mechanism. That entire wall is rebuilt cell by cell every 3 to 5 days.
Wait, so you're saying you get a complete gut reboot basically every single week?
You do. You absolutely do. That constant turnover is this incredible opportunity for repair as long as you give your body the right materials to rebuild with.
And sitting right behind that wall, that's the third layer of defense, the immune system itself just waiting.
I know. When that barrier, that wall, starts to break down, what we call increased intestinal permeability, or, the common term, leaky gut, things that shouldn't be there start to sneak across into the bloodstream. Little bits of food, microbial fragments, and the immune system immediately sees them as invaders, and it attacks. That activation is inflammation.
And this is how it spreads, isn't it?
Yeah.
The inflammation doesn't just stay in the gut.
Not at all. The immune cells, they communicate with these signals called cytokines. Think of them as inflammatory text messages. So when the gut is inflamed, it's sending these messages all over the body. When they reach the brain, you get neuroinflammation. And that's heavily linked with things like major depression and even cognitive disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The gut is not Las Vegas. What happens there does not stay there.
To really understand the power of this, we have to look at the most extreme fix, a fecal microbiota transplant, or FMT. The source gives this incredible case study of a patient, Michelle, who had a life-threatening C. diff infection.
Yeah, after taking the antibiotic clindamycin, it was a terrible situation.
And an FMT, which is basically transplanting a healthy microbial community via colonoscopy, didn't just help her. It shut down the infection completely within 24 hours.
It's the ultimate proof of concept. The right community of microbes can restore health, and it can do it incredibly fast.
Okay, that's amazing for an infection, but what about the wider implications? Where else is this being used?
It's staggering. Take cancer treatment. With melanoma, patients getting these drugs called immune checkpoint inhibitors, they basically flip the kill switch on tumors. Studies found if you first gave the patient an FMT from someone who responded well to the drug, the success rates doubled. You're priming the immune system for the fight by fixing the gut.
And you mentioned the Parkinson's connection earlier.
Yes, the gut-brain connection is so clear there. Research strongly suggests Parkinson's starts in the gut. You often see years of chronic constipation before the neurological symptoms appear.
So constipation can be an early warning sign.
A huge one. And in some of the FMT trials for Parkinson's, patients saw real, durable benefits in their movement issues a whole year after the transplant. It's just incredible.
So FMT shows us the potential. But for all of us listening, we need to be clear. Do not try this at home.
Oh, absolutely not. The expert is very, very clear on this. The meaningful long-term health impact comes from consistently and safely rebuilding your own microbiome through diet and lifestyle, not from dangerous shortcuts.
Okay, let's pivot to the everyday struggles then. I think the stat is that over 60% of us deal with gut problems, bloating, discomfort, things like that. If I'm always bloated, my first thought is, what did I eat? But the sources say that's not the #1 cause.
That's right. The #1 cause of bloating is a bit counterintuitive. It's constipation.
Yeah.
And we have to redefine constipation. It's not just about how often you go. It's about not adequately emptying the bowels. You could be going multiple times a day, but if it's sluggish and incomplete, that's constipation.
But how does that cause gas? Bloating feels like it's coming from higher up, from food.
It ties back to that 60% rule we started with. 60% of your stool's weight is microbes. So the gas literally travels with the stool. When things are moving slowly, those trillions of microbes have all the time in the world to just sit there and ferment everything, fiber, protein, whatever. That fermentation produces gas. Slower transit equals more gas.
That makes so much sense. Okay, and quickly, what are some easy things to avoid if you're prone to bloating?
Yeah, anything that introduces air, so sipping through straws, chewing gum, and any kind of carbonated drinks. If you're bloated, just cut those out. It can make a huge difference.
All right, let's talk food triggers. So many people I know say they have a gluten intolerance. But what does the research actually say about that?
Well, the sources bring up this key study that found a lot of people who thought they had a gluten issue were actually reacting to something called fructans.
Fructans.
Yeah. Gluten is a protein. Fructans are a type of long-chain carbohydrate. They're actually a prebiotic fiber found in wheat, barley, rye, garlic, onions. Humans don't have the enzymes to break them down, so they ferment in the gut. And that causes the classic gas and bloating people blame on gluten.
And this explains the whole I can eat bread in Italy but not in the U.S. thing, doesn't it?
It's a huge part of it. In the U.S., it's common practice for non-organic wheat to be sprayed with glyphosate, Roundup right before harvest to help it dry out.
And our bodies can detoxify that, but our microbes can't.
Exactly. Our microbes don't have the same pathways for dealing with glyphosate. It disrupts their environment. It depletes the good bacteria. And the suspicion is that this microbial disruption is a huge driver of why so many people in the U.S. struggle with wheat.
Wow. Okay, so what about sourdough? Why can some people tolerate that?
Because that long, slow sourdough fermentation process actually breaks down and reduces the fructan content in the dough. So for many people, it's just much easier to digest than a standard loaf of bread.
So whether it's fructans or glyphosate, the solution seems to always come back to one thing, fiber. And 90 to 95% of us are deficient.
It's the central problem. It really is. Fiber is the main food for your good gut bacteria. When you starve them, the whole system just gets weaker.
And when you do feed them, they produce these short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs. Everyone's talking about butyrate. Why is that one so important?
Acetate, propionate, and butyrate are the main three, but butyrate is the superstar. The expert calls it the most anti-inflammatory thing he's ever discovered. It does two critical things. First, it directly feeds the cells of your gut lining, that castle wall, giving them energy to stay strong and tight. It's like the mortar between the bricks. And second, it directly interacts with your immune cells and basically tells them to cool off, to turn down that inflammation switch.
So feeding your microbes fiber is how you physically repair a leaky gut. So where do we find it?
It's so simple we forget it. Anything that isn't a plant has zero fiber. Meat, fish, eggs, oil, dairy. Zero. It only comes from plants. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, seeds, nuts, and legumes. The more variety, the better.
Okay, we've covered the what fiber. Let's talk about the when. The sources put a huge emphasis on circadian rhythm. Our body clocks and our microbes are all on a 24-hour cycle.
Yes, consistency is everything. You have to use external cues to regulate your internal clocks. Let's walk through what an ideal morning could look like, say, starting around 7 a.m.
Let's do it. The perfect start.
Okay, 7:05 a.m. First thing is hydration. Water, ideally with a prebiotic fiber supplement before any coffee. Wake up the gut, the brain, the kidneys. Then between 7:15 and 7:35, you have to activate your master clock. It's a part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN.
And how does activating your brain's master clock help your gut?
You activate it with bright light and some light exercise. That signal resets the clock for the entire day. It gives you a healthy 50 to 100% boost in cortisol, which is exactly what you want in the morning. It improves focus, energy, and it sets your digestive rhythm for the whole day. It even helps you sleep better that night.
That we eat. 7:45 a.m.
Yes, breakfast. Non-negotiable. Your metabolism is at its peak in the morning. You handle blood sugar and fats way better at 7:45 a.m. than you do at 7:45 p.m. Go for high fiber, moderate protein, low to no sugar. And this is a great time for morning supplements too. Vitamin D, omega-3s, and turmeric.
And the ultimate sign that this whole system is working in rhythm.
A well-timed morning bowel movement. Around 8:45 a.m., that's the body telling you everything is in sync.
We should quickly touch on early life, because this all starts so early, doesn't it? First 3 years are critical.
They're absolutely foundational. Antibiotics in the first year of life, bottle feeding, C-sections, they're all statistically linked to a higher risk of allergic, autoimmune, and metabolic diseases later on.
And breastfeeding is key because of the microbes.
It's incredible. Breast milk contains over 200 varieties of these things called human milk oligosaccharides, or HMOs. They're prebiotics, but they aren't for the baby. They're specifically designed to feed the baby's developing microbiome. It's like a personalized recipe to build a healthy gut from day one.
Okay, moving into the afternoon. The advice is to have a 45-minute social lunch. That feels like an unusual prescription.
It's all about the gut-brain axis. Loneliness is an enormous stressor. The data shows it's a risk factor for longevity, on par with smoking cigarettes every day.
That is a staggering comparison.
It is. When you eat with other people, you reduce that stress, you get out of that sympathetic overdrive, your body can actually relax and focus on digestion. And after that lunch, a 10-minute walk. It's huge.
Yeah.
It boosts serotonin, it improves your blood sugar control by 30 to 40%, and it physically gets the gut moving to reduce any bloating.
What about meal timing for the rest of the day?
You want to space your meals about 4 hours apart. That gives the gut's cleanup crew, it's called the migrating motor complex, time to sweep through between meals. And an early dinner is key, maybe around 5 p.m. That allows for a 14-hour overnight fast, which gives your gut essential rest and improves that all-important consistency.
And eating supplements.
Around 8:30 p.m., zinc and magnesium. But choose your magnesium carefully. If you're constipated, go for magnesium oxide or citrate. If you need help with sleep, magnesium glycinate is better for relaxation.
And the final piece of the day, protecting your sleep.
Protect your melatonin. After 7 p.m., dim the lights, get off the screens, or at least wear blue light blocking glasses. Melatonin is your sleep hormone, and it's made from the serotonin you produce that morning. If you mess with your melatonin, you mess with your deep sleep. And that's when the brain and the gut do their most important repair work.
We've touched on loneliness, but what about deeper stressors, like trauma? The connection between that and the gut seems so profound.
It's the ultimate example of the gut-brain axis. Living in constant sympathetic overdrive, fight or flight, means your body is always sacrificing your gut for survival. Trauma, especially early life trauma, can keep your brain's fear center, the amygdala, permanently switched on. The body really does keep the score.
And that chronic stress creates a hormonal cascade that directly damages the gut barrier we were talking about earlier.
That's exactly right. The unrelenting stress releases a hormone, CRH. This activates the sympathetic nervous system, and that leads to sustained high levels of cortisol. And high cortisol is incredibly inflammatory. It directly disrupts the proteins holding the gut barrier together. It causes leaky gut and just feeds that whole cycle of inflammation.
So for some people, healing the gut has to start with healing the trauma, acknowledging that as the root cause.
Absolutely. The gut is just reacting to the brain's signals. You have to address the root of those signals to find true, lasting healing. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just circle back to what's missing. The four things that are consistently missing from the average Western diet, but are always present in the healthiest diets around the world.
A great way to frame the action steps.
First, fiber. We've covered that for making butyrate. Second, polyphenols. These are in richly colored foods. Dark berries, dark chocolate, olives. They're antioxidants, and they directly feed good microbes. Third, healthy fats. Omega-3s and monounsaturated fats from things like nuts, avocados, and fatty fish. They are naturally anti-inflammatory.
And the fourth one, the one that's almost completely gone from the American diet.
Fermented food. The average intake in the U.S. is basically zero, but a Stanford study found that just adding fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir for 8 weeks dramatically increased gut diversity and lowered inflammation markers.
So the big lesson here is that while these issues are incredibly common, the body is also incredibly forgiving. That 3 to 5 day turnover cycle means you can see changes in your microbiome literally by tomorrow, and you can build a whole new gut lining in just a few days. So what does this all mean for you? Which of those four missing ingredients, fiber, polyphenols, healthy fats, or fermented foods, will you commit to adding to your diet today to start your next 3 to 5 day repair cycle?